Dr. Bill Davison here. Welcome back to this next part of our presentation. And this is where I'm going to talk about me. Believe it or not, I don't like to do this, but I need to do it because it's important for you to know about me and why I'm going to talk about me. And there's a number of reasons, and number one is the fact that you need to you're going to trust your life with me. In other words, you're going to trust the quality of your life. So you need to know something about the person who you're actually trusting the quality of your life with. Also, you need to know that I'm not really that much different to you. I'm a lot like you, as you'll find out as I relate my story. And the idea of relating my story is so that we can relate to each other, so that you can relate to me through my story, and hopefully you can see that I can relate to you from the experiences that I've had. My story, in a sense, is your story. So as I'm relating my story, I would like you to put yourself into the picture, even if you have to stop the video and think about the challenges and the trauma and the disappointments and all the trials and the successes and everything that you've had in your life. Also, I'm going to use my story to explain a little bit about how the biocybernetics works. The biocybernetics, of course, is how we work with the mind and the emotions, the mental side of our health. The course is actually obviously has a number of parts to it. It's obviously has a lot on the physical side. It also has a lot on the mental side. We focus a lot on marketing, because marketing is about how you can succeed in your business, how you can earn an income, and a good income from your business. And we have access to material from some of the top marketers in the world, particularly internet marketing. So this, of course, is very much geared for online marketing. We have access to that material, which we can actually share with you to actually help you become successful in your business. So we'll be focusing on success as well. And success is really a lot, it's the state of mind. And that's why the biocybernetics is so important. I'd just like to explain to you briefly about the biocybernetics. We'll go into more detail elsewhere, but just so you can understand, as I go through my story, you can see the application of the biocybernetics. From the moment we're born, and some people believe that even in the womb, we are aware of what's going on in our environment, and if you believe in that we existed before we came to Earth, then you can see the application of the whole picture. But let's just start from birth. And when you're born, you begin to have experiences, and it's the perception of those experiences that actually we store in our subconscious or in our memory bank or in our database. Unfortunately, many of our experiences are good, they're negative, and also our perceptions are not always accurate either. So we have this memory bank, or this conditioning, that is erroneous, it's imperfect, and we use this conditioning or this programming to help us navigate or negotiate our way through life. It helps us understand who we are, or I should say it actually gives us a perception of who we are, which again is not accurate, and it also helps us perceive others, so that we call upon this to help us deal with life. And the problem is we have self-limiting beliefs, we have self-sabotage, we have so many blocks to our success and our progress and our happiness. What the biocybernetics does is it actually helps to identify where you have these self-limiting beliefs and actually teaches you how to remove them. Very, very powerful method. We've used it in the clinic for many, many years, and we get really, really good results with it, and that will be shared with you. So my story begins with my mother, who left home at 16 because she had a stepmother who gave her a really, really bad time. So as soon as she was able, she left home. This was during the war years in the northeast of England, so obviously a lot of poverty, not a good environment. She met a soldier boy and got married, and he went off to war and immediately felt that he'd made a mistake and divorced her. She then had a relationship with a man who she later found out was engaged to be married, and I was the result of that relationship. And he then dumped her, so she was left on her own with me. And because she was on her own, of course, there's no welfare and things like that then, and a lot, as I said, a lot of poverty, and it was just after the war. So she had to go out of work and leave me. And that's when these nightmares began. Where we lived was just outside of town, and to get from where we lived to town, there was this big bridge, a bit like the Sydney Harbour Bridge, a little bit smaller, but a big bridge nevertheless. To someone as tiny as me, it was a big bridge. And I'd crossed the bridge a number of times in real life, but in my nightmare, in my dream, I had to find my mother. My mother left me, and I had to find her at all costs. But to find her, I had to cross this bridge. Every time I got to the bridge and got halfway across, I'd look down into the water, and I'd fall off the bridge and fall into the water and drown. And this was my nightmare. I was told later that my nightmares were so bad that every morning when I woke up, my bed would be wringing wet with sweat. The mat was soaked through, blankets, sheets, the pillows, everything was soaking wet. This happened regularly. But I can still remember the dream. Well, obviously it doesn't bother me now, but that was the nightmare. Now, how do we apply the biocybernetics to this? Well, bear in mind that your brain is programmed to move towards what it believes will be in its best interests, and what it believes will be away from what it believes is not going to be in its best interest. Towards pleasure, away from pain. Towards benefit, away from detriment. Get the idea? So here am I, wanting what my mother can give me, love, protection, security, etc. But to get that, I had to cross this bridge, which represented danger, terror, and even death. So obviously I was in a predicament. What you call, it's almost like a fight or flight, except whichever way I go, I would lose. And so hence the sweating. And sweating is actually also a sign of when your body's under incredible stress. So that obviously left me with a lot of insecurity. My mother married 2 more times after that, so that was, and my stepfather, who was the third marriage, is the one that I grew up with, and he gave me a really, really bad time. I'm not going to speak ill of the dead. I probably didn't, probably wasn't aware of it at the time, but the effect of that on me afterwards obviously was quite dramatic, because here is someone who should have provided love, protection, etc., that a man normally provides in a home, yet what I got was not protection, but rejection. And so again, that added to my already existing dilemma, you might say. Okay. So in England, before you go to high school, you sit this exam called the 11 Plus. And I don't know what the situation is now, obviously it was a while ago. And there were 3 levels of high school. There was the top level, which was considered where the brainiest people went, and that usually produced the doctors and the lawyers, etc. Then there was the middle level, which obviously was a lower level of intelligence, where the engineers and the scientists and the others went. And then there was the bottom level, where all the riffraff and the dregs all went to. Of course, to everyone's horror, including mine, guess which one I went to? I failed my 11 Plus, and I went to the bottom level of high school, and it was a rough, tough school, let me tell you. It was a tough neighborhood that I lived in, and when you go to the bottom level of school, it's even tougher. And I was bullied mercilessly, not just by the students, but by the teachers as well. So you can imagine this again added to my insecurity, to my fear, and it was a very, very difficult time. But at 15, something happened. And probably at the time, I didn't realize it, but looking back, I understand it now, and I'll come to that in a moment. But at 15, something happened inside me, if you like, an aha moment. But I just decided that I'd had enough. I guess I reached as low down as I could get, and I thought nothing could be worse than the way I feel right now. And I decided to fight back. And I took on one of the lower level bullies, which was very interesting because he was bullying me, and I stood up to him. And in those days, when you stood up to a bully, you had to be prepared to fight. So he said, "Well, we'll fight." And I said, "Okay." And we arranged to meet after school so that we wouldn't get into trouble from the teachers, etc. And nobody would know about it. So we agreed the next day we'd meet after school. We'd settle with a fight. The next day, I guess what happened? He didn't show up. So it was the weekend, and the Monday he came to school, and I reminded him that we had a score to settle, and he couldn't get out of it then. So that afternoon, we had this harmless scuffle. I pinned him down. We agreed it was a draw. That preserved his pride, but it was the start of the new me. And what I did is I took on this Charles Atlas home bodybuilding course because I was really, really thin, really skinny, and I started to build myself up. So that was the start of me, I suppose, doing something about it. And as I said, I'll get back to that in a moment. I want to talk to you about, and this is a kind of an interesting story anyway, but it emphasizes something. When I was 7, we moved from a slum area into a new estate. And it's the kind of the girl next door story, except she lived not next door, but opposite, in the house virtually opposite. It was a small street, and I could look into her bedroom window from my bedroom window. And I worshipped this girl from the time I was 7, fell in love with her, and she was about 18 months older than me. And so she was always out of my league. She was, any boyfriend she had were older than her, and she was very, very pretty, and all the boys chased her. And she was kind of like my goddess that I worshipped from the time I was 7. When I was 17, we decided we'd emigrate to Australia. And 2 weeks before I was to leave to come to Australia, guess what happened? This girl and I got together. And she broke off her engagement with her boyfriend, and she said she loved me and all this mushy stuff, all this sort of thing. But here I was 2 weeks ready to come to Australia. I'd found the love of my life, and I had to leave it behind. Kind of sad, really, in a way. But the reason I tell you the story is that what kind of programming do you think that had for me? What do you think that impact had on me? That I couldn't have the person that I wanted. That love was unattainable. It was out of reach. And then when I did finally find love, it was snatched away from me, like that. So again, all part of the negative programming. So we came to Australia, and that was a tough gig because there was a lot of anti-British pommy sentiment then, and I had a very strong accent. Guess what? I spoke worse. My accent was stronger then than it is now. So I had this very strong accent, and I got really ridiculed and pushed around, and I got into a fight or two just to stick up for myself. So again, more rejection. Anyway, because the environment here in the main was good, I was able to get a career in engineering, spent 8 years studying engineering, and guess what? That's the second tier level in high school. So I actually jumped into the engineering. I travelled the world for 2 years when I was 22. In fact, I hitchhiked back from England to Australia on my own with just a little rucksack. It took me 6 months. That was an interesting adventure. Think of it now, it frightens me now just to think about it. I did a lot of exercise, built myself up, did bodybuilding, did martial arts, did boxing, even got a job as a bouncer in a nightclub, would you believe? I can't believe that. It's true. So you can see how the picture's changing. Then I got into a new career, which was because I wasn't really truly satisfied with the engineering. It wasn't really me. I wanted something that really, really hit home, could really satisfy me, and I figured I wanted to help people and I was interested in health. I put the two together and I came up with chiropractic and osteopathy, naturopathy. So I left my work, went back to uni full time, had a wife and child, 4 years. I hate study, believe it or not. I hated it. Yet I went back and I did another 4 years to have this new career. So the point I wanted to bring out is that inside all of us is greatness. Inside all of us is a seed that seeks expression. And no matter how much negative programming you've had, no matter how bad your past experiences have been, that inside you there is greatness. There's something much more powerful and greater than that. It just needs the right environment and the right opportunities to bring it out. And that's my purpose. That's my purpose for you, is to help you find that greatness within you, find that true you, find out what it is that you really want to do with your life. If money and time were no object, what would you do? What would you choose to do? So we mentioned earlier about finding the right fit. Maybe this is the right fit for you. This is what you have to decide. Is what I have the right fit for you? And I hope it is, because of my experience and my profession and my life, I believe I have the ability to do that for you. Think of a seed that's planted in the ground. What does it do? It automatically strives to come to the surface, to seek the light, to express its true purpose. A caterpillar in a cocoon. Again, it has to struggle to get out of its cocoon, but once it does, it emerges a beautiful butterfly. A chicken in an egg, or a bird in an egg, same thing, has to struggle to get through. You know, when I was born, I still have the scar on the back of my neck where they tried to pull me out with forceps. I didn't want to come, but they couldn't get me out. And my mother nearly died giving birth to me, and I had to have a cesarean. It was a big baby, and cesarean's no big deal, but then it was a big deal, and my mum nearly died having me. So even coming into the world was difficult for me. So with the right environment, yes, you can achieve true greatness. So I've been married 40 years this year. Now that's an achievement for me, let me tell you, because it's been a tough gig. I have 9 children, 8 daughters. That's a tough gig too. I have 22 grandchildren and growing. Don't have to do much there. That's pretty easy. That's hands off. I'll let everyone else do the work now. So everything was going swimmingly until, guess what? Yep, a bowling ball came down my rut. I had a trial. So just over 12 months ago, I was diagnosed with cancer inside my armpit, and was told that I needed to have my arm removed. That was the only solution, that if I didn't, then the pain would become unbearable. The pain was unbearable at the time, and I was told there was no other solution but to lose the arm. Now, bear in mind, this is someone who's worked out all their lives. I love to swim in the ocean. I love to play soccer. I love to run. I love my work. I love helping patients. And all of a sudden, that was taken away from me. Something I've worked for all my life was all of a sudden gone. My health, my strength. I lost a lot of weight, a lot of muscle tissue. It was a difficult time for me. And when I look back on last year, I, in one way, consider it probably the worst year I've had in my life. I still have a lot of pain, but I'm learning to deal with that. But in other ways, it's actually been, I've had perhaps more spiritual and personal growth during that time than ever before. So I've learned a lot of things from it. And just one is how much my family and friends love me and how much I love them. But there's been many lessons. It's brought me closer to my God. It's also given me a new direction, which is what I'm doing now, and that is to coaching others to actually achieve their true greatness and their purpose in life. So because I can't really work the way I used to, I do a little bit of work now. It's very much modified. So now it's time for a new direction and a new career. And that's my purpose. So, in closing, what's yours? What's your purpose? What's your story? I hope you've been able to put yourself into the picture that I've created. Are we in sync? Can we relate to each other? Do we identify with each other? I hope so, and I look forward to working with you, and I hope you're given the opportunity to helping you achieve what you want to achieve in your life and improve the quality of your life in every area. Thank you for your time. Dr. Bill signing off.